Everyone, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. Wanted to let you know about an ARPA award through the Capital Projects Fund for South Carolina. Be right back and we'll look at the numbers. Thanks for joining me. Rick Husey here with Broadband Deployment News. So just wanted to let you know about this award here. So this just came out. It was announced yesterday. Treasury announces American Rescue Plan funds to connect over 31,000 South Carolina homes and businesses to affordable high-speed internet. So this is through ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act. The U.S. Department of the Treasury announced the approval of broadband projects in South Carolina under the Capital Projects Fund in President Biden's American Rescue Plan. The state estimates it will use its funding to connect over 31,000 homes and businesses to affordable high-speed internet. And if I remember, it's about almost $6,000, $5,800, something like that per location when you break that out. So this is through ARPA. This was a coronavirus package that was passed that's helping, meant to help states defray the cost of loss of revenue from that, and then also help to provide different types of different projects. And the Capital Projects Fund specifically, $10 billion, as you see here, to states, territories, freely associated states, and tribal governments to fund critical capital projects that enable work, education, and health monitoring in response to the public health emergency. Again, they're talking about the coronavirus problem or crisis that we had there. So in addition to the $10 billion provided by the CPF, many governments are using a portion of their state and local fiscal recovery funds toward meeting that goal of broadband. And that package has $350 billion in it. So a lot of states have taken advantage of that to use towards broadband. The pandemic upended life as we know it and exposed the stark inequity in access to affordable and reliable high-speed internet in communities across the country. James Clyburn in South Carolina said, in the words of a Tennessee farmer in the 1930s who assessed the impact of rural electrification, saying, "The next greatest thing to having the love of God in your heart is having electricity in your home." These funds creating the Main Street South Carolina grant program are the next greatest thing for rural America. And they're calling that program something like the next greatest thing. And then they call it the Main Street grant, I believe. Main Street South Carolina grant program. Just as electricity was vital to households in rural communities in the 20th century, affordable high-speed internet service is vital for rural and low-income communities to thrive in the 21st century global economy. This investment will provide a lifeline for these households that have been unserved for far too long. Again, it's about 31,000 households and businesses, and they're saying that represents 23% of the locations that are still lacking high-speed internet access in South Carolina. So this is going a long way. Almost a quarter of the locations that are missing internet at this time. So as I've said before, this is just some additional funds in addition to what South Carolina is eventually going to get through the BEAD program. This is taking many of those locations, about a quarter of them, off of the map so that BEAD money will go further. The Main Street grant program, again, they call it here, it's going to fund the next greatest thing, Main Street South Carolina grant program, a competitive last mile broadband grant program designed to provide affordable, reliable broadband service to rural areas that currently lack adequate internet service. And it's supposed to prioritize projects that will deliver broadband to rural town centers and the surrounding residential areas. So rural town centers a lot of times have okay broadband. There's a lot of times, depending on who it is, there could be an independent operator there. It could be an independent telephone company or a cable company that are providing broadband. And a lot of those have been upgraded in those towns because there's enough customers to make the business case work. They've been upgraded to decent broadband, where it might be DOCSIS 3.1 cable service, or it could be fiber to the home in some of those more populated areas in the town. Sometimes not, depending on the town and the provider. But then you have the areas outside the town that are always a problem, because there the number of customers per mile goes up, or goes down, number of miles goes up. So you have problems reaching those areas outside of the small towns in these rural parts of states. So this is going to help that. Let's see, this represents 100% of the state's total allocation under the CPF program. So out of the amount that they're due, South Carolina, they're going to use all of those capital projects funds for this particular projects and grants. This requires service providers to participate in the FCC's Affordable Connectivity Program, and that's the case on all of these ARPA funds that are going for broadband. The operators need to be participating in the ACP. That's what provides a $30 subsidy to an internet provider to be able to provide that kind of a discount to people that are going to qualify for that. And there's various ways people can qualify through various federal programs, low-income programs, and then $75 if it happens to be on tribal land. So they need to do that if they're going to get that money. The Treasury Department began announcing state awards in June of last year. To date, 34 states have been approved to invest approximately $5 billion of CPF funding in affordable, reliable, high-speed internet, which those states estimate will reach more than 1.4 million locations. And I believe that works out to, if I remember, about $3,700 per location. I did the math earlier, something like that. So that's a figure that you quite often see when you're looking at these. So again, that's Capital Projects Fund. About $5 billion has been approved, and there's $10 billion in the program. So there's still a lot that can be allocated through this. So that's good news. Again, every dollar that comes out of these programs that have already been passed will be put to work even before we find out, or even before, well, I guess we'll find out how much states are going to get, but certainly before any funds are allocated through BEAD, this money will be already being put to work again to be able to take those locations off the map. And even if this money does not get spent, this will still be committed dollars. So these particular areas that have been designated for this will not be eligible for BEAD. So we want to make sure we're not overbuilding. But again, that will help the BEAD money go further. So that's good news. Thanks for joining me. If this was helpful or interesting, if you give me a like on the video, I'd appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, click the subscribe button right there on YouTube and click the bell to be notified. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.